Hi, so here I am again, and I've just got to the place where I least wanted to be, and I picked up my son from his friends and taken him out of school, pulled him out of school in A-levels, in what was to be one of his final years, and just pulled him out. Took my daughter and my dog and just left. 6 months prior to this, I had a knowing. It was like boom, that hit me from nowhere. And I get these every now and again. They just hit me. It's a knowing. And I knew that I was going to give my dog up. And that was the most painful idea in my mind. And I cried for a couple of days. And the emotional pain was immense. And I remember saying something on Facebook about it, and a friend, Wendy Thacker, said, "Why are you so upset? And who said you have to give your dog up? And it's not going to happen, and it's okay." But actually, I went through the pain of her leaving as if she had, and I thought I was giving up specialness and the attachment to her. And so in some way I thought, oh well, if it ever does come round, then I'm already halfway there, aren't I? Because I've done a lot of the preparation. And but when I left my house, there was a lot of homes. The council said, we can't help you, not with the dog, you have to get rid of your dog. And all these rental homes were like, no dogs. And I was saying, well, I'm not going to abandon my dog to the street. And like, if I don't get a home, if my dog doesn't get a home, then I don't get a home. And I'll stay on the street with my dog. I'd rather do that than just abandon her. And she was like one of my kids. And I mean, the relationship I had, oh, I can feel the tears with her. It's been immense. She has been a big part of my journey and my healing. She's been with me from 6 weeks old, 6 years, and she's like been my constant companion. And you know, I spent my entire life looking for love, peace of God, and she was it. She was it. She became my piece of God, my piece of heaven, my touchstone. And I did not want to give that up. No way. And the intensity of this journey was that she has to go. And I said, okay, bring the perfect doggy home and I'll take her there. I will do it. And suddenly this guy just turned up on the street. And he was a Doberman lover. I knew this guy. I mean, my dog was a Doberman, and this guy lived in the village, and he had Dobermans all his life. And his house is full of them, and he absolutely has a passion. But his Doberman died a couple of years ago, and because he was older, he didn't want to take on another dog, and another pup anyway. But there he was, in the street, saying to me, if ever you need a home for your dog, I'm it. I'll take your dog. And I'm like, holy cow, there's the answer. And I actually pondered it for a while, and then just before I left to be in this place that I didn't want to be in, I went to his house and I said, are you serious? And he was like, yeah, and his wife was over the moon, and I couldn't believe it. It was like these two angels that wanted to care for my dog, and it was like doggy heaven. The land that they had, the massive amount, it was like she would have had her own woodland. And the entire time I was there, I was crying, and they knew that it was painful for me, but I was prepared to do it. And then all of a sudden, things got sabotaged when this cat came on the scene. They'd taken in a stray cat, and Lola doesn't do cats. She doesn't get on with cats, and I thought this was a big problem, and it was actually. And then the entire thing fell through, and they said they couldn't have Lola because they'd already committed to this cat, and I felt it was so cruel, you know, to dangle this heaven in front of me for the dog and then snatch it away, and I was like, why? And then I realised that I'd created the cat in reality because I didn't want to let go of my dog, and I couldn't let go of my dog, and so, you know, I created this cat. Of course I did, because I couldn't let go. And then of course my dog appeared to be sick. She was getting all these lumps in her groin and in her breast line, and I thought, oh my god, there's this cancer and she's sick and I can't leave her in this condition. And then the idea that she was gonna have to be put down, and in my mind, that was a good answer, because if I could let her transition, then I wouldn't have to take responsibility for where she was or how she was. And I really it's sick to say, but I wanted that option, and I took her to the vet, and she had a full vet check and was cleared as healthy. And I thought, oh no, I've really got to face it. And you know, I tried the cat sabotage, and I tried the illusion of sickness sabotage, and now I really had to let go. And the flights had come in for Canada, and the days were ticking. I was due to fly on the Tuesday, and on the Friday I still had my dog, and I eventually thought about leaving her with my daughter, because she wasn't a dog lover, and she couldn't afford to look after a dog, and she didn't have time for a dog, and she couldn't have really handled it, and it would have been wrong to leave her there. But in my mind, I wanted to leave her there, because then I'd get to hold on to the dog, and I'd get to come back and collect her, and I wouldn't have to really give her up. So, but I knew it wasn't really the answer, and it was not fair to my daughter, and it wasn't fair to my dog, and to just put her somewhere for the sake of putting her somewhere. I wanted her, if she had to go, to have the best home. So I emailed this Doberman's Trust, because I visited someone and I was sitting in their room, and they said, come into the kitchen and see what's on the laptop. And I sat there, and they'd gone and got this Doberman rescue site up on their website, and even got the email page up. So just email them, and I emailed them, and when the email came back, was an email, and I opened it and it said, yeah, we can take your dog, we'll take her tomorrow. And I was like, it was like a massive punch in the gut, boom. And like, just reading that was like, oh, it was not good. It was not good. And I'd already been crying, you know, for 2 weeks solid. Every time I went to take her out for a walk in the woods, I was just in the fields. I was crying uncontrollably, and I called these fields the crying fields because that's all I did for 2 weeks. And it was just the idea of it. And I knew the longer I held on to it, the more I was going to suffer. And so I agreed that this stranger was going to come and take my dog, and on the roadside, and I agreed to it. And Lola was not an outdoors dog. She doesn't do outdoors. She hates the cold, and she's a people person. She wants to be in and around peoples and cuddles, so it was extremely tough for me to put her in a kennel outside in the snow and just leave her. It was incredibly hard to even contemplate. That's what I was doing. And yet I come back to this. A choice made with the power of heaven to uphold it cannot be undone. Your way is decided. And I knew, no matter how much I wanted to cling to this dog, I felt the power and the force of God dragging me forward, and I was not going to get to keep this dog, no matter what I wanted, because it had nothing to do with the small self, the small I. The dog was going to go. And actually, the Sunday morning came where I had to take her. So I took her to the field, gave her a 2-hour run, because then I could put her straight in the car and she could travel across country to this kennel. And I've never felt in that field that morning so much pain. It was like all of my pain in all of existence concentrated into one. And I was crying, and I was literally on my knees, and I was howling like a wounded animal. And I remember crying to God and begging, please, not this, not this. And it was like the love that I'd found, the tiny little piece of God, was being ripped away from me. And I went straight back to the pain of the original separation. And I just cried and howled, and I can remember saying, and I felt like I was in the Garden of Gethsemane, and I can remember saying, please take this cup from me. Please take this cup from me. And then I said, but if it's your will that I drink from it, I will. And I knew I was going to drink from the cup. And I felt the strength of God. And it was like a roller coaster ride, because I fell to my knees in pain, and I was like, I can't do it. I can't do this. And it was the ego. And I was crying on the floor. I can't do it. And then boom, this strength had come and it lifted me up onto my feet, and it goes, you can do this, and we are doing this. And then all of a sudden it felt easy, and I was telling myself, yeah, I can do this, I can do this. Because at the end of the field, the man was waiting to take the dog. And then the next thing, I fell on the floor again, I just know I can't, but lifted back up again. Every time I fell, I was lifted. And, I didn't want to put the dog in the car. And everything in me was screaming no. But the dog got put in the car. And, she connected with my eyes. And the man saying, well, she's looking at you. And I knew. She was saying, it's okay. I've brought you this far, you can go. And then, what came in was the Matrix film where, Neo had to, make a choice. He was going to go through the door and it was all over, back to the light, or he could be fooled by a form image of his girlfriend suffering, and he chose to go back, didn't he? And like, it was almost like Lola saying, don't you dare go back, and you go forward. And then she was gone, and oh man, I can't even tell you how painful that was. And the guilt in my mind around being responsible and separate, and the idea of suffering, and how it was just an immense undoing, and the most painful thing I've ever had to do in my life, actually. And the guy who picked her up, he was in pieces when he saw me, and it was horrendous. But I felt it wasn't anything to do with the small I, Sally Ann. There was no choice, there never was, you know? My pain, it was so painful for me because it wasn't my choice, my little choice. That's why it was painful, huh? And then immediately I get onto the plane with all these ideas of separation and the dog suffering, and hey, guess what? I was on Air Canada, and there was a dog stowed under my seat, and it was locked in this little cage, and it was suffering, and it was crying, and it cried the entire trip. My opportunity to forgive and to heal that, but still it was painful, and I felt a lot of anger and a lot of resistance to being in Canada because I had to leave the dog, so I didn't arrive in a good state, actually. And then what's been happening in Canada is that not only is there being a deeper healing, massive healing, shift upon shift upon shift, it's been a deepening the trust of God, and everything here is just for the healing of the mind. This little community that's formed is it's serving a purpose, and it's the healed mind, and someone in the community set up this cleaning contract, and cleaning's been used as a backdrop to the healing now, and although it looks like cleaning and it looks like a story in form, it's not really about that. It's about the healing of the mind, and it's serving in such a way. And I was asked, well, this is open for you. You can do some cleaning if you need some dollars to feed your kids while you're here. Because, of course, 2 of my kids are here. One of them is set to go back, but still, this was offered to me unless you've got resistance. And I said, there isn't any resistance. And if it's guided, I'll do it. And it was guided for a short while, and 2 weeks, I guess. And there was a lot of ego flushing going on, and a lot of stuff coming up for healing. And it appeared also in form that there was a lot of drama going on in and around the cleaning. But it was all for the healed mind, and eventually I felt that I was done cleaning, and I didn't think there was any resistance or trying to escape or anything like that. I just felt that I was done, and I'm not involved in that now, but still, the cleaning backdrop is still for the healing of my mind. If I think I can run away from the cleaning or run away from the group that's involved in it and not be part of it, then I'm wrong, because it's still healing my mind. Absolutely. And there's been so many dramas around it. And then this morning, I can just give examples of how, I'm being healed on a deeper level, and how everything seems to be given for my healing, and how I can use the transfer of training of what Jesus taught me and what the Course says. I can use it now, and so there's been so many examples, but I give the one from this morning. It's like one of the guys who is involved in the cleaning knocks on my bedroom door, and I get up, and he looks like he has something on his mind and wants to express, and so I start listening, right? And when I'm listening, he starts talking about another cleaning drama, and I think, holy cow, again. And the mind wants to make it, a problem that's outside in the world, and it's a problem, it's their problem, I'm doing my work, you do yours, it's your problem, deal with it. Yeah, actually, it's always my stuff. Always my problem, because the cause is always in my mind. And so even going down that route, it's wrong. But I continued to listen and talked and then in the end it was just all form stuff. And he said and she said and they said and I said, and in the end I just went, oh well, it appears to be working beautifully, but what's really underneath the story? What's underneath the form? I mean, what's the content of your mind right now? I'm trying to reach out to my brother, and then through the listening there was threads coming out of it that I could see, and of course I wanted to make it about this guy who was doing the speaking. And I'm like, oh well, there's a control issue, refusing to let go and making myself guilty. And actually, I can make it about him and say, well, you still want control. You're refusing to let go, and there's this incessant need to make yourself guilty all the time. Well, am I really talking to this guy? Am I really talking to myself? Yeah, this is all my stuff, and so here again I'm looking at this control, and there's still elements of it. I think I've handed it over so many times that there couldn't possibly be any left, but oh no, it raises its ugly head this morning in the form of control and refusing to let go and wanting to make myself guilty. And this is what I heard when he spoke to me. This is the threads that came out of it. And then afterwards it all went quiet, and it was just sinking in, and then I began to feel this knot of anxiety in my stomach. It was like, felt like I'd done something wrong. The mere fact that I'd sat and listened to this guy was wrong. And for me to express what I thought was going on at the level of the mind was wrong. And I shouldn't have done that. And yeah, there's this intense feeling that I was wrong and that I could mess it up and be guilty in some way. And then I started, because he'd walked away by this time, was making breakfast, and then I started to express, you know, I'm really feeling this uncomfortable feeling that like I've done something wrong and that I could do something wrong. And I started talking about the script, you know, and that the world is already over, therefore the script is written, and how can I possibly get anything wrong? I can't mess it up, can I? I can't be guilty of anything, because that's false, isn't it? I mean, I just can't be guilty of anything. I can't mess it up, and I can't get it wrong. And it appears that I'm making choices and decisions, but I'm not, am I? And so, how can I get anything wrong? I mean, do I seriously think the small I, the Sally Ann, is doing anything here? Because if I do, I need to go back to school. Because this is all the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is calling everything. And I'm not doing anything, the small I. And then I can remember then an experience with a friend, Nikita, who, when she was going to be a minister for God, it was said the ego jumped in, and in the form of her mother, who offered her a car and £5,000 to stay and do what she said. And of course Nikita didn't take the offer. So you can see how tempting it was, but she didn't take the offer. And in my mind I'm thinking, well, if that's in the script to come up as a temptation, then it's going to be in the script. But it's not in the script that Nikita would ever accept that offer, because it's not in the script, is it? So therefore she can't get anything wrong, and she can't possibly get anything wrong. So it was back to that, I can't possibly mess it up, I can't be guilty, and I can't get anything wrong. So, and then it's even looking at the idea that accepting the car and the £5,000 would be wrong, because there is no right and wrong, there is no good and bad and choice, it just is. And we even have to drop the idea of anything being right or wrong, or being about the ego or the spirit, because that even has to go, the idea of that in our minds. And I can see we're going to click off again, and so this transfer of training is going to go into part 3. Oh. Oh, bye, I'll see you there then.